Some things are better left unsaid. Take it from me, some things are better left unsaid.
Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Unspoken, episode 16. And we're going to speak about the topic, who is in control? And I'm not meaning, who has a TV remote. We're talking about who's control in the sense of who's telling you what to do. Is it yourself? Is it a different person? Is it the government? Is it your boss? Basically, if this was a chess game, who's moving the pieces? John, lockdown has got everybody doing things that we don't normally do or don't want to do. Can you give us some examples of controls that the different governments or what you experience there?
Yeah, thanks again for getting this together, organizing it. So we come to a pandemic moment, and all of a sudden, a best course of action decided pretty much across the world is that we need to stay at home. Close down economies, close down transportation across the world. Obviously, that one's I can definitely agree to more. Just stop, just halt everything without necessarily thinking about the consequences. Um, Here in New Zealand, I think it's probably the best course of action. There's approximately around 5 million people, and you're on an island, not connected very much to any next land. Unlike England, for instance, it's connected to Europe a lot closer, although you're still on the island. Um, and yeah, it's everything everybody expects. Okay, yes, let's just agree. Let's just go what the governments are saying across the world. Is no thought necessarily what happens to economies or what happens to like livelihoods. I think the worst outcome of this for me particularly is like people losing jobs and finding life harder. The other options, I think, besides locking down and listening to the government in that way, is Sweden has kind of gone for herd immunity. Mostly, they've kind of asked the older people to stay home, and it seems much more friendly. Although people are dying there as well, people are losing their life. I think it's a strange social experiment. Not that it was one designed to be an experiment, but it is like everybody's like, okay, well, let's help each other out. Let's be a team. Let's work it out. But then as it's been resurging or like a second wave or third wave, people um, are tired. People are like, okay, well, we've tried this. And it's a lot harder to listen to the control or listen to people who are trying to keep control. Uh, how do you feel happening in England in terms of respecting decisions the government's making, or um, yeah, respecting who's got the power?
Yeah, the thing is, with the first lockdown, we all were caught off guard. The whole world was caught off guard with this pandemic. We were all like, "What the flip was going on here? We don't know what it is." They still don't. Still, as far as I know, the investigation, they still don't know where it came from, or that they have speculation and stuff. But so we're all caught off guard. So we kind of like any person, any person with an idea how to handle this, we'll listen to. Okay, cool. All right, saying stay at home. Okay, fine. We'll stay at home, and everybody kind of listened to it. It was great. It was just everybody did it. I mean, um, because I think we all didn't know what was happening. We were all in the same boat of what the flip is happening. Let's just do it. Um,
Mm,
but now with the second wave coming, everybody's like, well, um, way we came out of it, the exit strategy, what the way you said was going to happen when we come out, it didn't really happen, didn't really materialize. So now we don't really want to listen to you this time because we
mm,
actually, the first time round, we were all novices. We didn't know what was happening. And then we kind of grew wise and we kind of realized, okay, we looked at the information, we looked at the data, we looked at everything. We was like, well, actually, 95.5% survival rate, we don't really know if it's worth losing our jobs, losing our careers, losing people are losing their businesses that they've built up over decades. 10, 20, 30 years they've been building these businesses up. And in 2 or 3 months, they're gone.
Yeah, the question is if people didn't lock down, would have we had the same results, right? So that's the question of we're seeing the people being in recovery, but the rhetoric, the story was that our hospitals aren't ready for it, right? And I don't think they were. There's many countries that hospitals weren't ready to handle people with heavy flu-like, cold-like, death-like symptom, in heading that way. And so the question is that yes, we only lost X amount, and we still are losing people. But is the economic loss, is people's jobs losing, is people's companies being lost worth the lives? And yes, I would say whatever amount of money is worth a life. But the question is, were they going to die? And if they're,
Yeah,
if we're going to.
So yeah, as you say, over here the NHS, the National Health Service, we weren't ready because nobody's ready for this type of thing. But they've since put into place a lot of emergency hospitals, which they're calling Nightingale hospitals. So we do have the capacity now for more patients than was. So there's an argument to be made that maybe they should then just let everything be. Those people that are extremely vulnerable, that want to be cautious and that prefer to be cautious, stay out of the way, stay at home. But the rest of us, if we want to go out, then let us be. But the main thing is we're going slightly off topic here. I mean, the main topic is the control aspect.
Yeah, so in Spain, it was keeping going back to in Spain, they had police out in force. They were enforcing this thing, and I saw some photos, and it looked like an apocalyptic movie. The streets were totally got clear, and people, if you caught outside between X amount of time, and then you can get locked up, and that was scary. That was like really intense. And what can you do about it? When a government starts to put that, then what, you just have to say yes sir and done.
That's the scary thing. I mean, how free are we actually before the virus? How we thought everybody's saying, no, we're free. We actually we can do what we want, but it within days of the pandemic, literally, as you say, the streets are empty, police are in force. So how free are we really if it only takes that little bit of a turn of a knob to put everybody in order, just to actually lock everybody down? So it actually says to you that we're not ready, because there's in placement, there's a certain level of we're not free. We are being permitted, or we're being allowed to roam around in the prison yard. We're allowed to be out on our 2 hours of daylight, that type of thing, and
it does feel like that, doesn't it?
but it is. We kind of walking around thinking we're free range chickens, when actually, meanwhile, back of the ranch, there's actually a fence around it. And it's just an illusion of freedom, which is what we have, and we didn't realize that until now, where we actually just in an instant you can be locked down. There's police out there, and so that's really scary to realize who's actually in control, because actually it's not us. We are just pawns on the chessboard, really. I mean, there's another really sad example at the moment in Nigeria. The police are out there, and they're busy rioting in Lagos, and the police were out there. Was it yesterday or the day before? This was week, and just firing bullets into the crowd, just unarmed people. Just mayhem going on. And once again, it just shows you that you can't voice your opinion without the government or the military getting involved and trying to put you under their thumb and say, listen, you guys are actually not free. You're allowed to say something, but it has to be under our terms.
Do you think it's because we're reliant on government institutions and stuff like that? So, for instance, if we go live out on a farm somewhere and grow our own food, is that not more freedom then? If we can just, we're not reliant on traveling with a car, we're not reliant on, I don't know, money, income and that type of thing. Do you think the reason why we're not free is because we've set up, or people have set up, we need reliant on internet. We're using internet right now. Are we reliant on electricity? Do you think part of the freedoms that we have is because we are free to the extent of being reliant on different situation, different people, and as soon as we get rid of those, and then that's our freedoms have disappeared.
For sure. I mean, if you put it in the aspect of, when you drive your car, so we drive out our yard here. I mean, I park to the back of the house. I don't have to wear my seatbelt, but as soon as I'm on that government road, I have to have my seatbelt. I have to go. They tell me to go 30 miles per hour. I can go 30. I can go 50. I'm in control. It's the parameters that have been set when I use government facilities, or when I connect myself to the machine. I'm using really out there, conspiracy theorist terminology, but I'm not really. But what I'm trying to say is, if I was driving in the desert, Sahara Desert, no one's going to worry if I wear my seatbelt, or if whatever. I can go as fast as I like. Well, I suppose you can't go that fast in the sand dunes, but you know what I mean. If you're driving in a salt plain somewhere where there's no regulations, then you can really do as whatever you like, because, as you say, we're off the grid, I suppose. So if you in the middle of the bush, and you growing your own fruit and veg, and you living your life, you don't have to pay council tax. Obviously, you won't have water, and you won't have the perks of being in society, but then also you don't have the control that comes with it. Because if you're gonna, when we grew up, when all children grow up in their family home and they want to do something, and their parents like, as long as you're under my roof, you abide by my rules. And that's really what the government's saying, aren't they? As long as you're standing in my country, as long as you're drinking our water, and then you abide by our rules.
Yeah, it's like freedom within the rules, right? You have some set boundaries, and if you are not going to cause chaos, or you're not going to go against that, then you're free. And then in this case with coronavirus, they had to well, we're not sure what's happening, so we don't have many rules for you to be free anymore. You don't have any much gym space to go out in the park and go do some weights, or going back to prison.
So here's my question, right? And at what point do we take back the control? At what point do you say, well, okay, well, I've lost my company that I've built up for 40 years. I have used all my savings. I'm at a point now where I have no money. I have nothing anymore that I've been building up. You're still saying certain X, Y, Z rules, but now I'm at a point now where I'm going to take back control. Where I'm an adult. I have a family. Whatever. I'm in my 50, 60, 70. It's not like I've just recently become an adult. I wasn't born yesterday. I know how to do life. At what point do you say that, or do you ever? I'm not trying to incite a revolution here, or people break lockdown rules.
Quickly, can you clarify take back control? Clarify that for us.
Well, yes. What I'm saying is, clarify.
So what I'm hearing you say. So there's two options, right? There's option, if you say take back control, let me go and live on a farm. I'll buy a piece of land and go farm myself. You gain control of your life.
Yes.
But so that is an option of what you're saying, or are you saying no, the government should give us more freedoms, or
Okay,
what type
yeah,
of how are you going to take back? What is the how will you know that you've got control?
yes. Well, yeah, it's a difficult one. I mean, because that's really what I'm saying is what at what point do you say, listen, okay, no, I'm going to start rallying my friends and we just start protesting and actually say, no, we want more control back, or give us, or we don't want to do this lockdown, or um,
Mm,
let's just change, let's go off lockdown for a bit and let's change,
mhm,
let's go
mhm,
to the other side of what we normally talk about, religion and politics. Let's leave politics and let's go to religion for a bit and put our
yeah.
feet. Let's at what point there's a lot of different types of religions, as everybody knows, and a lot of them have got a lot of strict rules. Um, Often people, you can't always see the rules. So then the religions that you can see the rules often get most persecution because you like, for instance, a lady that wears a burqa, and then you look at it, oh, look at the way, look all the suppression, how many rules. But then
Mhm,
the person standing right next to her could be a Mormon or a Roman Catholic or somebody that's got high strict rules, but they just don't have to portray them out in public. So
mhm.
at what point do because it's, do you say, listen, I believe in God, but all these extra rules and regulations, I actually don't want to adhere to. For instance, you and I are on the other side of the scales, where we charismatic churches, or people more familiar with might be Baptist churches or evangelical, more that side, where very little, um, what's the word? Very little, was it man-made rules? Would you say that? Um,
Well,
at what point do you say, listen,
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
agree with all these rules?
Yeah, so first of all, the like when you're going into a religion, so sometimes a country is kind of religious in general and has rules included in their government, and people aren't necessarily choosing a particular religion and therefore what they adhere to, and so uh, it need to be understanding like if you some people are don't want to become religious because you need to come with 50 rules, and other people don't get a choice. They are raised in a certain country or certain family, and then the rules are this is who you are, and
Mm,
this is part of your culture. Um, and so I think one of the freedoms is not choosing to be into the religion, or any particular religion. There's consequences for that. In our case, we believe that people, if you don't believe in Christ, then you're not going to heaven. Um, and so, if you are going to subscribe to a certain religion, you can't. I think um, it's very hard to say I'm going to be a Christian, but I'm not going to do listen to the Bible or read the Bible and see all the rules.
mm,
Um, and when I say rules, if you're looking to Christianity, or I'm sure other religions as well, not all of them are trying to put you into a box and say this is how you should be doing. There are some religions and there are some ways that people interpret the Bible and other religious sects that
careful,
uh,
careful with that word.
yeah, how they interpret that. Um, they that are really quite intense about how you dress, what you wear, what you do during the week or a particular day. And some of them are good for healthy living. For instance, there's a Sabbath rest in a Jewish, or some Christians still adhere to a Sabbath rest. Originally was part of a cycle of life, in terms of needing to focus on other things rather than just looking
Mhm.
after yourself. And that is healthy. In if you can get it right, it's healthy for people to do. It's healthy for you to take a time of rest between um, your life, your work, and looking after yourself or looking after people, that you can just focus on your religious aspect, or um, yeah, your who you're worshiping. And so it is when you deciding to go into religion, there is standards. Christians believe there's a certain list of sin or line of sin, and I think it's the same way with, if you're not in religion, there's lines of society says this is okay. Then if you want to live in our society, then you need to not murder. You need to, not, I don't know, drink and drive or whatever, And so I get a bit worried when people are adhering to what I would more go with cults, cult religions. I don't think wearing certain wardrobe is necessarily cultish, but if you're feeling that you need to go and live um, on a plot of land and only be like farming, or I think that's a little excessive in my opinion, and you're losing control there, or you start subscribing to a different type of control.
Do you think that is possibly one of the main reasons why people become agnostic or atheist or something? That they don't want to be put into a box or be told what to do or controlled uh, in belief systems. So they kind of just throw everything out and just say, "Let's not want to be controlled in that sense," So they're trying to be free. So they don't want to believe in it. There's actually a divinity or something like that. That controls things.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a fair possibility. If I am agnostic, then I have freedom to live a lifestyle within certain parameter boundaries of the government, but I don't have to like be shunned by other people for doing something wrong or for drinking too much on the night out and like, oh, look at you again. Similarly, if you trying to believe that you're Christian, we believe that you go to hell. If you're sinful or if you're not accepting Christ. And I mean, that's who wants to like, yeah, I'll put up my hand. I believe in something like eternal damnation and eternal suffering. I mean, I would not necessarily people don't want to sign up to that type of thing. And in other cases, there's a bit more stricter rules. Having to maybe say sorry for your sins, sorry for that you've done stuff, accepting that you need to say that you've messed up. People don't necessarily enjoy that, or being raised to easily say sorry. People don't even say sorry to their friends or family members. It's just like, okay, yeah, I messed up, I'm out of here. Or it's like so definitely is a possibility that I don't want to have more control. I'm already under government. I'm already needing to do X, Y, and Z, and now you're wanting me to add a whole section of a Bible or a transcript that says I need to do another 50 things right, otherwise I'm a bad person. And I think that's also why some people are open to like the softer religions, or people that are more accepting. And yeah, some depending what you believe, people would call hate speech or that type of stuff. If you saying you don't want this or you don't like that in society, I think that particular one is the LGBTQ. People are like, how can you have that stance? You're not loving. You're not. How is that Christian? If you're not accepting and open, you're just adding more controls and more, bashing people over the head. Sorry, I just that's quite loud.
No, it's a tough one there, but see, for people that don't really know Christianity and are kind of like, well, it's all about rules and regulations, and they're trying to stop me having fun, and that's not nice. I think it's. I would like to use an analogy of children playing a game, and you give 22 kids a ball and to say, here, play a game, and then the kids will start kicking the ball around, and then very soon you'll hear odd kids say, no, you can't do that, and then the other kids like, why not? And the others like, no, you can't do that, it's not, don't do that. And it will be absolutely chaotic because there's no rules, there's no parameters of what can and cannot happen. So very soon they'll be arguing and not having fun because there's actually nothing. There's no point. There's no there's no point. But as soon as you tell them, okay, well, here's a ball, split you two in half, 11 of you this side, 11 of you this side. This ball is to go in this direction. You guys to keep the ball in this direction. The ball has to go through these posts, and you're not allowed to, jump on each other's heads. You have to pass. You might use your hands. You might only use your feet. As soon as you add a few parameters or a few rules and regulations to their fun, it becomes fun. It becomes more fun because now there's actually a goal. There's a reason for doing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
If I may challenge, if I may push that uh, illustration slightly further, there, what happens if I want to pick up the ball and you told me not to pick up the ball but I want to play a different game? Or what happens if I have to wear cleats or have to wear a uniform before I'm allowed to play? Doesn't that take away some of the fun that previously I didn't have to wear anything. I could wear what I wanted, and now all of a sudden you're telling me I may not play the game until I'm dressed in blue.
well, well, that's what happened. There was a little kid in rugby that's on in England, and he decided, no, well, actually, he's tired of kicking this ball now only with his feet. He's gonna pick it up, and he did. And turns out there was a couple of other boys that, hey, this is a good idea. I want to follow you. Let's do that. And I'm pretty sure the next break time, there was a bunch of kids now. Okay, well, we got a whole new different game, or a whole new different religion, if you want to put it that way. And if people find the parameters of the rules in that certain game that they don't like it, then they make another one and make another one and make another one and make another one. And so that is why I think the world ended up with so many religions and so many different denominations in Christianity. People are like, oh, you're all Christians, why can't you get along? I'm like, well, yes, our core, well, you'd like to think that the core values and the core beliefs are there, but some of them have even gone away from that. But it's all the extra rules and regulations and interpretations, and it's all those that are extra. It's the same in politics. We have in some countries it's stricter than the others. Up until recently in Northern Ireland, they were a lot more Christian-based values, and they were very strict in saying different rules and regulations they weren't going with, and they're very very I want to say religious, but yes, up there. So they stuck to that. So then people that didn't like it, they had to move. They literally did, and if some things they wanted to do that weren't allowed in the country, they had to go do it in Ireland or in England. They had to go move away to what I'm particularly talking about is abortion. They weren't allowed to do in Northern Ireland up until recently, so they actually came to England to get it done. What I'm saying is, if you don't like what's happening, if it's that severe, then you move your country. If you raised in Abu Dhabi, for instance, where women have to wear certain garments, if you don't like it, if you actually think, wait a minute, actually I don't really want to do this, then you would have to leave the country. You'd have to live somewhere else if you're a woman. So it's a big change. That's kind of how we're full loop now when we're coming back to what can you do if the government says something you don't agree with it. Well, if you don't go along with it and you want to live in society, they're going to end up throwing you in jail because you're not adhering to the rules that we are putting under the banner of the country.
The thing is, though, that for the country or for people to move out their country, sometimes it's pretty hard. So I don't think it's just that easy to I'm going to up and move. We have lots of refugees currently across Europe and through Turkey and stuff like that. They have tried to do that and have tried to move. So it's slightly not callous, but people just can't just move the country that easily sometimes. And also for government, I think you could maybe try to do that and change. But what about religion? I don't want people just to say, no, I don't want to be a Christian and up and go, because they don't like to listen to X, Y, and Z. Or I would say that for another religion, people shouldn't just up and go because all of a sudden they don't want to adhere to certain things. I would agree that they shouldn't necessarily take on an aspect. If you can't live by those rules, then maybe you shouldn't take it on in the first place. But um, I believe that Christianity is great, and it would be sad just for people like, okay, well, I can't do this anymore, and therefore I need to jump ship. So I wouldn't want people to hear that from what you're saying.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, you know, often I know people, who the only experience of church or religion is a strict, or in my opinion, a strict legalistic church,
Mm,
and they go there and it's dead quiet and nobody looks at each other, and you know and I'm just using this as an example. The vicar or the minister is wearing a certain robe, and he's speaking a certain way, and they like, what the flip is this? This is not my cover. I don't want this at all. This is boring. This is not nice. I don't like this at all. Whereas they could have just as easily walk into a different church where people, well, before COVID, now they greet you at the door, welcome, so nice to have you. You know,
mm,
grab a coffee at the back, or grab a pasty, whatever. Sit there and they sing, and there's drums in front, and there's clapping, and they're like, oh, well, this is great. Well, this is nice. This is really relaxed. Oh, look at that guy's wearing shorts and he's wearing his flip flops. Oh, well, okay. This is not what I expected. Oh, this is great. I might give this another try. Or they go to their first church. Sorry, just bumped the laptop there. Or they go to the first church, and they're like, oh yes, actually, I quite like this. I like the strict rules, and I like this. This is what I thought. Maybe they feel comfortable there, or maybe and they go to the second one. Oh, I don't like this. So I'm not saying necessarily that one is right, one's wrong. I'm just saying it's difficult because some people, if they don't like a lot of rules and regulations, if they walk into the wrong type of place, or they play the wrong game,
mm,
you know, then they're not going to enjoy it as much as if they play frisbee on the beach.
mm-hmm. So I think what I am out of this conversation, what I'm taking is that pretty much control is possibly given um, from your freedom. So um, when you're growing up, yes, your parents can say you're under my roof. That's it. So you don't have an option of giving control. You have an option of rebelling, which I wouldn't suggest if anyone younger tries to do that. That sucks. But if I'm in my current lifestyle, I can choose to opt into having a car and driving on the road, listening to those rules, or needing internet, needing electricity. So I think, in some senses, we have the initial control, and we can give it out. You can divvy it out, or we can say, this is how much I am willing to give up. This is how much I am willing to lay down my desires for the pros or of living in the country. So if I'm happy with New Zealand or England or America or something like that, I get roads that people have built for me, and I pay money and I can go drink a coffee whenever I want or whatever. So we're happy with certain rewards for living in society. Um, or we can decide, no, I am not willing to give up that much freedom. I'm going to throw my phone away, or have a certain type of phone that I can't get tracked at all. Not connected to GPS and anything like that. I am going to go on a farm, and I'm going to retain my freedoms, but I'm going to work at my own life. I'm going to
Mm.
grow my own food, and therefore, if you value that type of freedom, and then people can have that. But I don't like the fact that people necessarily say, "I want to be in this I want to have my toast and eat it, or butter both sides of the bread. I don't know what the correct phrase is, but like people who are rioting, like say, government, you need to change. You need to change to what I want, exactly how it should be. Or I want to be a Christian, but I don't want to follow X, Y, and Z. Or I want to be a certain, I want to play in a sports team, but I'm not going to put shin pads on because I don't feel like it, or whatever the case. I think that is where I am currently landing with this conversation. So if you want to be in the game, then you have pros and cons of both sides.
Well, it's as you say, it's you relinquishing your control to somebody else to get a certain outcome, or to not get a certain outcome. Because I mean, if you want, you can very much go drive outside and go drive on the freeway and go as fast as you like, but you will be caught and you will get a fine, or you will be put in jail. So you can take back the control for a certain period of time until it's completely taken away from you, because now you don't have control at all. So there's always a consequence to your pushing back, um, unless you, as you say, you take yourself out of the system, or and go and not use what's available, and live on a farm, or um, it's just it is really it's a person's choice in the end of the day, to a certain extent. But as you say, there's only so much that we are in control. Um,
Do you think, just to slightly come from a slightly different angle, just quickly, do you think we need control? Do you think it's a prideful thing to want control, to desire? I mean, just thinking about the Bible, some teachings, um, it teaches humility, and it teaches servanthood, and it teaches put yourself last, and mercy and grace and things. And I think just we're talking about control, and I don't want to go too far from that particular topic, but do you think it's just pride? Do you think it's just a man-made construct that we need to have control of our lives for us to, people not choosing Christianity because I want control? Just that phrase is perhaps prideful or selfish, or um, you know, what do you think about that?
yeah, well, that is, you have a point there. I mean, there is some truth to what you're saying. I think to an extent, I mean, to want to be in control all the time is definitely a level of pride. I mean, it's the same as, you're sitting on the sofa watching TV with your wife, and you just want to hold the remote control because you want to be in charge of what we're watching. And for some men, well, I mean, vice versa, it could be the other way around as well, that women want to hold it all the time, and not. But to to let somebody else choose for you, or to go under I must be honest, I sometimes find it difficult not to choose what movie we're watching on a Friday night. Um, so there is, I mean, it's a pride thing, isn't it? I mean, if I didn't care, I'm, fine, I'm happy to listen to whatever, you could choose. And so there is a certain level. Also, I think it's entitlement. I think it's because I'm allowed to make my own rules. I'm allowed to make my own decisions. And
Mm.
yes, in some areas for sure, you can decide what you want to wear in the morning, or what you want to have for breakfast, or um, it is definitely things you can choose for yourself. But in society and in government, I'd like to believe that they make decisions and they make rules that only infringe on our liberties if it is going to infringe on the liberties of somebody else.
Mm.
So the reason they put speed limits in is because if I crash at a certain speed, I could kill somebody else. If there was nobody on the roads, then they wouldn't have speed limits, because then I could do whatever I like. You know,
Mm.
if my decisions and my not adhering to rules are going to influence somebody else's life and possibly take it away, um, then that's where they put rules in. And I hope that is the only time they put rules in. So, for instance, now with lockdown, that's why they told us to stay at home, because by me running around going anywhere I like, and if I had the coronavirus, then I could be going around possibly taking other people's lives because they might be able to might die from it. So I'm hoping that's the only reason they're putting the rules in, which I would believe it is. As soon as there are rules being made in certain areas or by certain people or governments that've got nothing to do with anybody, just because they fancy, keeping people under the thumb, then those are the ones we need to then rise up against and actually say, listen, this is not right,
I like it. I think it's with great control comes responsibility. Yeah, so I think you're right. I think the desire, if you're again when thinking back to the great leaders one as well, if the desire is correct, and you're happy to follow them, then you're happy to give them control or to back down. Can
we take the same sentence and put it into into religion? Can you say that the reason that rules and regulations apply in religion, we're happy to adhere to them so long they don't influence anybody else, or they're there so that we don't hurt other people, or?
Sure. So in terms of like the Sabbath and that type of rules, I think so. But man, I don't think so altogether. Like Christians are called to be different. People who are worshiping 3 times a day on their mats, praying to a certain direction, it takes a bit of friction against society and against that to accept that. So I don't know. I don't within Christianity or within this religion. Yes, I think it's fine, but I am not. I'm not going to please everybody because of my beliefs of Christianity.
Let's look at the 10 Commandments of Christianity. So let's strip it right down, right? And so we say right back to the nitty-gritty. And so the main rules of Christianity, there are basically 10 of them. The main rules, without, if you look at, and I think 8 out of them are basically hurting other people. Jesus is saying, don't hurt other people. So actually, the 8 of the 10 rules that God's put in place is really directly stopping people from hurting other people.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, that is exactly what we're saying. We're saying, yes, so that's right. I'm happy to adhere to those 8 rules because that is what rules are for, is so that you don't hurt. That's what government makes rules for, that you don't hurt other people.
Not quite sure it's 8, but never mind. Yeah.
But I'm trying, because I'm like the first one's love the Lord your God with all your heart, isn't it?
You shall have no other gods before me. Yeah.
Okay, and then the second one is
shall not make any idols.
Yes. So I think the other 8, as far as I know, still.
The third one is you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain.
Okay, so 7.
Remember the Sabbath day.
What are we on 6 now? But with the Sabbath one, we might actually have a whole different video with the Sabbath one. But that one's actually very important. People don't really realize how important that is, because especially in this day and age, where shops are open on the Sabbath, even businesses open on the Sabbath, or on Sunday. So now bosses can tell them, you can't take off, you need to work. So people are working sometimes 7 days a week, not resting, not giving their bodies a chance to rest, not having family time, not being there for your spouse, there's a lot of mental health problems as well, because you're just working, you're not relaxing. So take the religious aspect out of resting on a Sunday or clothing. Shops need to be closed. Everything needs to be closed so that people can switch off. Can spend time in nature, can just relax, take afternoon naps. Play with their kids. Talk to their spouses. take away the fact that it's a Sunday. Even if you do it on Friday, who cares? It doesn't matter what day is it. But there needs to be a day for that. So anyway, we're going off topic now. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, in religion, the Bible's only given a few rules for a certain thing, and there's really no other rules. The other rules are, we add some because we have a relationship with Jesus. So when you have a relationship with anybody, when you have a relationship with your wife, there's certain rules that come into place. Can't go have a relationship with someone else because I've committed to my wife. So we made this rule. So in order to have a good friendship with your spouse or your best friend, also there's certain rules that come into place that we add to have a good relationship, but it's not necessarily there. But then, in my opinion, there are some religions that just go too much, just start adding more and adding more and adding more, and then you kind of like, well, you've lost the plot. If so, it's like a government saying, okay, so you can't kill, you can't steal, you can't speed, you can't do this. Okay, we got the ones that we got there, we understand. Yes, fair enough. I'm happy with those because yes, they influence other people and they harm other people and possibly harm myself. So yes, I'm happy with those. But then it's like them deciding, okay, now you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't hop on one leg, you can't do this, you can't come up. Then you kind of look at it like, well, actually, that country is way too strict, and I'm going to either vote that government out so that changes, or I'm not going to do that because that's just, or you might just say, well, actually, I really enjoy that country. So even though the rules are too much, I'm going to stick with it because I really like that minister, or I really like that church, or I've really grown up in that church a lot. So I'm going to stick with the rules, even though I don't really like them, but I think that's right.
Mhm. Yeah, just to quickly add, the Jewish Shabbat is Friday 6 o'clock to Saturday 6 o'clock.
There we go.
So if you wanted to sort that out somehow, then that's necessarily on Sunday.
Mm.
But just to finish off the conversation, Josh, what do you think? How do you think then a person should decide what they're happy to adhere to and what control they're willing to give up in terms of, religion, in terms of what is the deciding factor of what do you think we should aim towards, or how do I know that my rights are being taken over here at this point? Just to finish up, to wrap up.
No, I think to finish off, thanks everybody that's listened just as we're going. Thank you for everybody tuned in and watching. It's great that you're still with us. I think to answer your question, it depends on what the outcome is, what the reason behind something is, and what the reward or the repercussions are. And if I've given myself a whole bunch of dietary rules because I'm trying to lose weight or I'm trying to get fit, then I've set those rules in place and I'm happy to live by them because I'm happy with what I am going to achieve or what I'm hoping to achieve. So if I've chosen Christianity, I've chosen a certain denomination because I feel that is what I believe with, and that outcome is is what I'm wanting to achieve, or I'm happy to do with it because I believe in it. And I'm happy to live in lockdown because I believe that the best outcome is that everybody's safe and that we have little or no deaths or very few deaths as possible because we're all going to be at home and wait till the virus to go over. So I'm happy with the expected outcome, or I am going to drive 50 down the motorway because I am happy not to get a ticket.
Yeah, I think in some senses, I would add that you can definitely need to be open to being wrong or being corrected. I think it's if we can take away our pride and say that I am not the end all and the be all. It's not all revolving around me. Then my happiness is not the ultimate goal necessarily. And then I think we can definitely live in a society that we're happy to give control for the greater good, or for what we believe in. So I definitely think like choosing a religion is not always comfortable, or being in a religion is not always hunky-dory, and not always going to go your way. But showing that you want to have a stance and have a commitment to something, I think is important. And so if you're in a country that is giving you a whole bunch of things, and all of a sudden something goes wrong, you can't just like, oh, that's it now, I don't want to be in this country, in that moment. Or in the religion, if something is not quite right, definitely push and see why you're upset, why you're not happy with this control that you've lost, or something like that. And then decide whether it's just your own selfish gay desire that you want to like jump ship, or if you can back the government for making their right decisions, and hopefully they're doing it right. And praise them for when they're doing things right, and then sticking with them if you think they're doing things wrong. Sometimes people get things wrong. And so don't flip too far always, in my opinion. Don't just jump too quickly. But definitely I would agree that if you're not comfortable, definitely search and research and check out other countries, other options, other religions, perhaps. If you're something's not happening, different denominations, or whatever the case is.
Thank you for the chat. It was good. Hopefully you are listening or watching, got something out of it. As always, share, like, subscribe, comment, let us know what you're thinking. We'd love hearing from you all, and thank you for those people that do get into contact, and hopefully we will see you next time. And for now, see you on the flip side.
Bye.
Some things are better left unsaid. Take it from me, some things are better left unsaid.